Hi, my name's Tom Elliott, Chairman of Beulah Capital. With me is our CEO, Christian Ryan. And this is a financial market wrap-up for December 2017. Christian, welcome.
Yeah, welcome, Tom.
Well, it's been a very interesting time. Firstly, we've seen the rise of cryptocurrencies, of which the best known is certainly Bitcoin. People who bought Bitcoin for just a few dollars a couple of years ago are now millionaires and in some cases billionaires. Now, everybody asks me now, should I invest in Bitcoin? Right now, it's not an investment. It's got completely away from being a means of exchange, and it's become something that's entirely speculative, a bit like the tulips in Holland 300 years ago. Now, Bitcoin may succeed. It may become an alternative currency to things like US dollars, A dollars and so forth. But right now, it's got such a speculative whiff about it, it's very hard to recommend that anybody buys it. I do note that this week in Australia, the Reserve Bank has said that they are investigating creating an electronic currency for Australia, which could be a government-controlled version of Bitcoin. But of course, that is Bitcoin's attractiveness. It isn't controlled by any government. Now, Christian, a couple of big, takeovers have occurred in the last few days. Both involve Australians. One was the Lowy family selling out of their Westfield shopping centres globally. That's a big move. And the other one is Rupert Murdoch, who technically now is a US citizen, selling a big chunk of 21st Century Fox to Disney Corporation. Firstly, the Lowys, is this a turning point for the value of retail property, not just here but around the world, shopping centres and the like?
Oh, look, I think it is a turning point. I mean, there's been a range of different activities that have occurred into 2017. You know, Frank and Lowy selling out of Westfield, and then obviously the Murdochs doing what they're doing. Now, when you see people like that undertaking the size of the transactions and what they're doing and fundamentally changing what they do, you've got to sit up, I think, and take a look and review things and say, well, where does this really mean for property? But also, in both those two areas to which those guys operate, retail property and retailing has really been an area which is coming under extreme pressure from groups like Amazon as they come into Australia. And for the Murdochs, it's all about entertainment. The entertainment industry, the way you can access content, what you can do in that field is becoming super competitive. So I think
it's all changing, isn't it? I mean, I look at my almost 8-year-old daughter and what she watches on TV, and everything's via Stan or Netflix. It's on-demand video, bypassing the traditional media outlets. And if kids are doing that, they won't change those habits as they get older.
No.
Now, another issue, of course, is the state of politics in Australia. We've had secret Poms and secret Italians and secret Greeks suddenly throughout our federal parliament, by-elections all over the place. Malcolm Turnbull's hanging on by just a thread. He's got a one-seat majority in the federal parliament. Do you think he'll go the distance as Prime Minister?
Look, I think for maybe just from a stability perspective, hopefully he does go for the distance. I think most Australians are just over the fact that this thing just politicians just keep changing left, right and centre. I hope the world is looking at us. We are generally a stable economy. If this keeps just continue to be a worse outcome, Australia's economy and comparative to the rest of the world will continue to have a negative effect on it, I think.
It's interesting though, because jobs growth has actually been very strong. I have a theory that you could build a wall around Canberra and not let anybody in or out for several years, and the rest of us would just get on with our lives. So I'm actually not as worried about it as
wage growth is still low. I mean, jobs growth's going all right, but wage growth's pretty low. Yeah.
Now, another thing that's emerged out of Canberra, the government had to cave in on this due to pressure from both the Labor Party and the Greens and the Nationals, their own partners in coalition, is of course the banking inquiry. For the last 18 months, Scott Morrison has been saying no. In the last couple of weeks he said, yes, we must have a banking inquiry. Bank stocks represent a big cornerstone of everybody's portfolio. Should we and they be worried?
Oh, look, I think when we have these large institutions coming through these problems, if we look at, for example, where oil and gas companies have big oil spills, it never occurs where, from a purely financial perspective, cost as much as what people think. However, I think in this scenario, it's really the social and political impact I think this scenario continues to have on people's trust and confidence. If we see cryptocurrency and blockchain technology and all these things trying to disrupt banks, I'm not sure if it's here today. Money is certainly about trust, and the banks still have that upper hand over a lot of people, regardless of whether they're bashing them or not. But I just don't think financially it'll hurt them as probably what we'll expect. I think long term though, there is so many things slowly building up against them that you've got to have a really big awareness about your bank holdings and what you're doing with it in the future.
All I'd say is that since the global financial crisis, the market share of the big banks in Australia, and that's almost 10 years ago, has grown because people essentially trust the big names more than they trust the smaller ones. Anyway, as always at this time of the year, it's very interesting. We'd like to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we will talk to you again in 2018.